Look, if you don't want to make that change within yourself, it's not going to get better. This might not apply to everybody, but if you feel like you're rock bottom, okay, and you're hoping for a better day, but you literally are doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, that's a definition of insanity. You are provided with a choice every day. You are provided with multiple choices throughout the entire day. Take that choice, make that change. You've identified a problem. You're saying you're rock bottom. Got it. You're there now. There's only one way, and it's up. So change your mindset. Use that choice and go a freaking different direction. Love y'all. Faceman VTT out.
Day 3 of retirement. As an infantryman, I was asked if I could clean the sink. So let's look at this. Definitely some kind of grime on there. And I open up the cabinet. What do I use? Nothing comes to mind. Like my experience is my skill set. Nothing. Wait a minute. Everyone knows this is how you clean everything. Infantry, retired.
You can just take it.
Would you like a military discount?
Oh, do you offer one?
Honestly, cap of the day.
Please, thank you.
CC's Pizza is the county fair of restaurants. You go in there, you look around, you feel a little bit better about yourself, then you realize that you're in there too. Tell me I'm wrong. Well, let's be honest. You know, not everybody's made for this life. It's scary. You know, you gotta jump out of a plane while it's moving. That's not natural. It's high, it's fucking wet outside sometimes. It's snowy, it's hot, it's dry, it's shitty. Who the fuck would want to be airborne? Best job I ever had.
What's up? Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to episode 108 of the Trash Talk Hour. Special guest today is Dan from Briar Barn. And today I'm joined by Nick. What is that?
Don't worry about it. You're
the
good.
Mad Colonel. God, what are you doing? God in the background, crazy Asian, like playing stuff with my headphones. How's
No, that was me.
Oh, that was you, Nick?
That was great, yeah.
You're fired.
Yeah, sorry. I was watching Pornhub earlier, had the volume up. Sorry. No.
Thank God that didn't play, bro.
Can you say that? No. I don't know.
No, we're still on, right?
Yeah, we're still live, I think. I don't know.
Anyhow. How's everybody doing today? Good day?
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Great. Right now, I'm just hey, if you watched the fight show earlier today, we did a Saturday morning fight show instead of Friday night, and Joe and Bill right now are 5 for 5. Right? It is coming. The money is coming today. It's coming, baby. It's coming. And then, like I said, Joe.
That's what's up.
Yeah. But yeah, what's up? What's
And
up?
Buddy's missing today. We don't know where Buddy's at. No, just kidding. Happy birthday to Buddy's kid, doing family things.
We
which
don't
is
know his
great,
name. We
you
just
know?
call him Buddy's kid. So, although he has sold, I think he sold the most shirts and buttons for us on a tour. So, but we should know his name. But it's just, hey kid. So that's all.
It's
That's
his
all
kid.
he gets. Yeah, it's Buddy's
The
kid.
easiest way to do it, you know? Buddy's kid. But anyway, we will kickstart this dumpster fire with another conspiracy that I Googled yesterday. I think I sent the photos to Chris yesterday. I'm sure he's going to upload them right now. And as you all know, I'm really big into the UFO thing and the alien thing. And today we're going to talk about the landing case in Zimbabwe. Okay. So back in 1994, this UFO was flying around in this little small town in Zimbabwe. And hundreds of eyewitnesses saw this UFO flying around. And then after like 3 or 4 days, it actually landed in a school, like in their playground. Okay. 70 to 80 kids, and the ages were like from 5 to 8, witnessed this UFO land. Aliens got out of the UFO and then started talking to these kids telepathically. Okay. So
Right.
like just like straight up like telling them about the environment and how like technology is dangerous, all kinds of crazy shit. Okay. UFO took off. A week later, this doctor came in town from Harvard. All right. He's a Harvard psychiatrist. He brought camera crews in and everything to interview his kids. And they separated all the kids during the interviews. Okay. And had them draw what they saw. Okay. So they weren't like sitting next to each other drawing these pictures. They were isolated drawing these pictures. And obviously the pictures that you see right now on the page, those were the pictures that they drew. The guy's name was John Mack. He was a Harvard psychiatrist. After all that was done, they went back. John Mack died in a car accident in London. Not sure if he got Epstein or what the hell happened with that.
He got Clinton.
Yeah, he got Clinton or something, but he died. Okay. And long story short, they brought all these people back because it happened in 1990. What did I say? 1994. So they interviewed all these people later on. There's a movie about it. And, the fascinating thing for me is that these kids all drew the same pictures, even though they were isolated. Like these kids weren't actors at the age of 5 to 7. So I do actually believe that maybe something occurred on that day. Okay. There's a lot more to it. Like I said, there's a movie about it. There's documentaries. New York Times did a huge article on it. Something definitely went down. And for like over 67 kids to like, talk about the same message that apparently these UFOs, these aliens sent to them telepathically, and then witnessing these spacecrafts and everything. I'm a big UFO guy. I think something happened. I don't think the guy like just got into a car accident and died. I think maybe the government wanted to cover it up, So yeah, I'm going to say yes, something went down, whether it's US technology, Russian technology, Chinese, whatever it may be, but something landed on that day. These kids saw something, and then maybe there was a cover up behind it. And then apparently when I was reading on all this, a similar situation happened in the 60s in Australia, where a UFO landed on by a school as well. And there were like over 300 witnesses. I don't know much about that one because I didn't really research it. So it's obviously a thing that occurred, more than once. So hard yes for me. It happened. And that's my take. Dan, what is your take?
With conspiracies, I've worked with government intel agencies and they're not that good. So I never figured out like how anybody keeps a secret. So I lean towards they saw something, but I have 4 kids, man, and 5 to 7. I mean, they're seeing stuff that, and then they talk for 2 or 3 days. And then you got a Harvard guy mixed in. I don't know, man. It's there's a lot of doubt in me there, but I want to think there's somebody smarter than us out there. Because look at what we do. But I don't believe the conspiracy part or anything with government involved. But who knows, man? I'm 50-50.
That's an interesting
The Harvard
take.
guy flying out was for the investigation. So he brought camera crews and stuff, and yeah, it could be maybe linked to him, like some conspiracy. He wanted to like write a book and make some money. But what gets me the most is the isolation part. Like all these kids were interviewed and they were isolated, drawing these pictures, and the pictures are up on the page right now. And they're all similar. Like it would take a lot to convince 5 to 7-year-olds to, like come up with the same story.
Basically,
Skittles.
you know, at that
we
age,
got to
like,
do some research into Zimbabwe in the 90s because Echo Roning says on the chat, he says, is it possible that they saw the same movie or read the same picture book or read the same picture book, which is why they have the same story / pictures? And it was like
100%.
Did they have TV in Zimbabwe in the 90s?
Dude, I grew up in I grew up in third world
no.
countries, man, and there's only like 2 TV shows that get over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I watched.
I mean, Knight Rider ran for a year.
Where do you think those B movies make it?
Yeah, I think it was Barstool Sports. They interviewed one of the kids. All right, he's like he went to college and all that. I don't know, he's a professor now or something, but they interviewed him on their show, and he talked about when they brought in like cameras and stuff. Like that was the first time he's ever seen a camera in his life, so the technology wasn't even there. And now these aliens are talking to these kids about, you know, technology being dangerous, which is really weird. Like you picked the wrong spot. Like if these are, you know, extremely intelligent beings, maybe Zimbabwe in that area where there's really not any technology is probably not the place to educate people on technology and the environment.
Maybe they're trying to say stay in your center, stay in your zone, because when technology comes down here, it's going to screw you up.
Well, do you believe if you believe in UFOs, maybe they're just screwing with us because they never.
What do you mean if, Dan?
Well, let's just say they're real, right? If I was an alien species, I'd come down and screw with people. I wouldn't find the most advanced area. I'd go hit Zimbabwe, like, you know, rural Australia in the 60s, somewhere with no cameras, right? So maybe they know. I don't know. I mean, that bolsters the argument, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so you're like in between. Maybe something happened.
Now you got me convinced. Sure. I think they're screwing with us. So there are UFOs. I'll give it that. That's the first time I thought that.
I mean, the government said that there was last a couple months ago.
Yeah. I mean, June they declassified a lot, and a lot of European countries have declassified, and they're calling them UAPs now. They're not. UFO is not even the term used anymore. It's unidentified aerial phenomena. You know, but it's all over the news too. Like every news channel is talking about that shit now, but that in itself could be a big cover up or a conspiracy to scare us to think that there's some outside threat. You know, you could get me going for hours now when it actually isn't. And it's to bring in the New World Order and World War.
Did it say Pfizer on the side?
We'll talk about that we'll talk about that some other time, you know. Dan, Rob, what's your take on this?
All right, so I'll keep mine short and sweet. They just released smart guy, Rob. Yeah, they just released a sequel to this, right? So the UFO is probably made out of vibranium. There's a aquatic version of this, and then maybe that's why the guy died on the way to London, because he was followed across the ocean and killed. And these people, maybe it's not Zimbabwe, maybe it's Wakanda, maybe it's the Wakandans coming out early and identifying themselves, and then 30 years later they make a movie, and then they make a sequel. Hashtag recast Chadwick
Star
Boseman.
Trek 4 with the whales. I got you. I'm on it.
No, Star Trek 4 with the humpbacks is very telling there. I like that reference. Yeah, it's. I mean, these movies, they got to come from somebody, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, there's no original thought in Hollywood, so it had to come from somebody.
Nobody just thinks I'm going to go back in time and save humpback whales, right? Nobody just thinks that, right? Yeah. So, like, that had to have happened. Just saying.
Somewhere, for sure.
What's your take, Nick? Is that it? It happened?
No. Again, like I'm a believer in UAPs, right? Yeah. So
Monica's talking about how I live next to Area 52 or whatever, but I know you're going to talk about your. I don't even know what Area 52 is. Area 51. But,
she meant 51, but she's from UCLA, so she can't count. So we've already went over this.
We love you, Monica. Thanks for tuning in.
No, Monica was flexing her schooling background earlier to me today about spelling, and now she can't write 51. So that's a UCLAism. She's laughing on the page because she knows. Real quick,
Kevin said Mulder and Scully would only need 15 minutes to pick this apart. Yeah.
Right. Those of us who went to the Yale and the Southwest, i.e. UTEP, can say 51.
UTEP. Yeah. Texas Western.
Yeah, exactly. The minors. But hey, they're bowl eligible. Anyways, again, I believe in UAPs. I sit outside here in El Paso, which is on the flight line with all these other weird places. And like I said, there was that one time where there was this thing skyrocketing across the sky, like way up in the air. And like about 30 seconds later, 2 fighter jets came hauling fucking ass, right? On the same flight line. Now, were they protecting it or were they chasing it? Like, what were they doing? We don't know. It's a UAP, right? we don't know. But I gotta go with this happened. And I think that, because the aliens created the earth, right? They created all the technology that we have. We've seen this in movies. It's obviously true, right? Like they bury stuff in the ground.
Chariots of the gods.
Right, exactly. The life of Brian, the aliens came, picked him up, when he was about to get in trouble and got him out of trouble because he was an important person for the alien, cause. I gotta think they went to Africa and they picked Zimbabwe because they were like, hey, stay away from the technology. The technology is probably from a different alien universe. So competing aliens.
That's a consensus that they actually are coming down because their planet got destroyed by technology, and now they see that we're using technology, and they don't want that to happen.
Can we challenge them?
Hundreds of years or whatever.
Can
we challenge the aliens if they're listening to us to land on?
It depends on which alien group you're talking about. So I think that
there's the reptilians. There's like a bunch of the Nordics.
Intergalactic battle, and then the people who actually first planted the seed in America, in the United States, and then in the world, I should say, United States is the world. In the world, right? They were like, hey, we got to go back and make sure that these guys don't follow the technology that these guys planted.
Hey, right? Can I just offer a challenge to the aliens if they're listening? I mean, they're obviously listening to you guys, right?
Well, yeah.
Can they land on SOCOM headquarters and then we can debunk everything?
Not yet, because I'm a big fan of General Evans. Like he's one.
I don't want him to hurt anybody. I just want to get out and make them draw pictures. Get a bunch of.
Yeah, wait till General Evans leaves, then you can do. Okay, but I'm a big fan of him.
Just land there, hang out. Have them draw stuff with crayons. You'd be good to go.
Yeah.
Chris is saying in the chat, the baker, real quick. Now, Chris is saying, how did they know how to speak in English? Blah blah blah.
I replied.
They learned English over there.
It was telepathic.
Well, right, but the pictures that are up there. Some of the kids wrote in English, but they learned. Chris, other countries learn English in like fourth grade. Like I was taught English in like second grade.
And did the English not control it like 90%?
They controlled it. Rhodesia was. It used to be called Rhodesia, Zimbabwe. So it was English.
I mean, Chris was raised and educated in a liberal state.
He's a Marine. It's okay. Go eat some crayons, Chris. Go eat some crayons.
The baker's a Marine. He doesn't get it. You're not speaking American, all right? Yeah. So it is what it is.
How do they know? Fucking Chris, man.
He's like, you better stop making fun of me. I'll shut this show down right now because he can. He's got the power.
Yeah, go eat some crayons, Chris. But so Nick, it happened.
It happened. 100%. It happened.
Okay.
100% aliens went down there and fucked with these kids. Easy.
Okay.
So
I want to see the movie. I got to look that up. I definitely want to see that.
And the reason why Clinton killed him was because the reporter is because
that is.
Actually,
why does that guy have to die, man? Like,
actually, because 10 of those kids were abducted by these aliens.
Have you seen Clinton? Have you seen Clinton lately? It looks like an alien. So he's kind of.
There's
why did that guy have to die? The Harvard professor. Yeah,
because
he looked the wrong way.
He probably audited a class with Hillary.
Yeah, he crossed the street looking the wrong way. Yeah.
Did Hillary go to Harvard?
Yeah. Why did they go to?
She didn't.
Maybe it is all tied in.
She went to like Little Rock State or something. I don't know.
Maybe it is all tied into like child slavery and Hillary.
I got a Harvard sweatshirt.
Went to Zimbabwe to grab kids. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to stop with that because we'll all get fucking canceled here.
Right. Hey, so we have the distinct pleasure to welcome back. He hasn't started his own Facebook page yet, but he's supposed to. VTT's Mad Colonel. All right. So back in the day when we first started our dumpster fire, I had this idea that, hey, we should bring on, an angry colonel. And I said he had to be black or like, a woman. That way we couldn't get in trouble for whatever he says. And I'm like, I know the guy. Right. And he's just going to come on.
You got both? You got both?
Oh, snap.
Nice.
But,
all right. I see how it goes.
But it ended up being one of the best things we did because now we partner in multiple different ways, especially sexual, but we can't talk about that. But we got the Angry Colonel as a guest host, and he gets to tell us what he's upset about. and this is going to be fun. Hopefully,
and usually pretty damn good too.
Usually pretty.
It's been a while. It's been a while, Rob.
Yeah. So I've been sitting on this one, and this one kind of popped on Friday. So if you're watching the news at all, you saw that there was a second special counsel put up against Donald Trump, and part of it is it's like, why do we really care if this guy's the most unelectable dude in the world? Why would we even want to investigate this guy again? There's going to be people that have their own conspiracy theories. Is it about January 6th? Is it about stolen documents? Is it about this, that, or the other thing? However, that doesn't matter. As a taxpayer in the United States, you should not want to see multiple investigations against anyone in politics, because that costs you money. It was $10 million that was spent on the Mueller investigation. And now if we're going to continue to do this, another investigation for 2 more years, that could be another 10 to 20 million of your taxpayer dollars. I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but if you watch presidential spending, Joe Biden has spent more in 2 years than Barack Obama spent in 8.
Well, if he got as many votes as more than Obama, he's allowed to.
Well, true. I mean, I guess that gives him all the clearance. And just so you guys know, this may upset some people. So here's your trigger warning. If you voted for Joe Biden, I'm not black, based off of some of the things that he said. So for me,
you have too much money.
Yeah, that's it too. I'm waiting for my student loan. I'm waiting for my student loan forgiveness because serving in the military is not good enough. And then of course we have politicians coming out and openly saying they want to replace you. If you're a veteran and you are on this podcast and you're listening to this, you should be railing your senators and your congressmen and all your representatives for one reason and one reason only. They're saying that we have to make 20 million people citizens, but we have homeless veterans on the street that can't get support from the government that they served. And that is a scathing indictment on our society. And guess what, folks? It doesn't matter what color you are, what race, creed, the Marines said it best. So I'm gonna give a shout out to the Marines. It's light green and dark green, but we're all green. And that's kind of how I see things as far as, the military is concerned. And that's how we should see things in society. But you say one thing, oh, abortion is the most important issue in this election cycle. But then you're saying, oh, well, we don't have an infant mortality rate that allows us to continue to grow as a country. Well, then stop killing babies, right? That's a simple transaction. So you can't stand on abortion and then say, hey, we need to have more kids. So which one is it?
They're standing on women. They're standing on women's rights, Rob.
I'm not standing on a woman's rights. It's a state issue. Let the states take care of it.
Well, right? That's what you know me. I'm an apolitical guy.
Yeah.
Right. And so I try to just be objective. And there was like 5 states that had abortion rights on their state ballots. Yeah. And one of them was Kansas. Right. And people don't understand that state. There's a North Kansas and there's a South Kansas.
Yep.
Like it is very divided. And that state, by an overwhelming majority, which means North and South, voted that into their state constitution that the women did have the right. Okay, so that's exactly what the Supreme Court wanted. But like you said, the triggered people are like, "Oh my God!" It's like, no, you don't realize that the Supreme Court just gave every state the opportunity to do what they want.
Yeah, it's a 10th Amendment, and if you want to talk about democracy, voting in your state and having a state election that impacts something like abortion or like concealed carry or constitutional carry or whatever, all those things are more valuable if it goes to the state level, because all too often, our politicians are in it for, think about it. Our country's been around for almost 250 years. Joe Biden has been in politics for 1/5 of that. Do the math. And he's not the only one. There's Republicans, there's Democrats on both sides that have been in there forever. And I can tell you that an 80-year-old person doesn't
drain the swamp, right? That's what Trump wants.
Yeah, well, it's true. But you don't, an 80-year-old person doesn't have the same perspective as a 40-year-old person, as a 30-year-old person, or a 20-year-old person. But yet and still, we're going to push that line further and further to younger ages to make people more responsible for things that they absolutely shouldn't be, and then expect everybody just to be good with it. And I think that's one of the things. It's like, hey, look, you guys being NCOs, there's a reason why you never put a second lieutenant in charge of a platoon without an NCO to back him up, because he's young, he's dumb, he's going to make mistakes. That's why we always create an environment where, at least in the military, you have somebody that says, hey, bud, you're in charge when I tell you you're in charge. And that's kind of the unwritten rule of all good units.
Yep.
And Rob, I'm glad you brought up the 10th Amendment, man. That's one of my. I mean, the whole purpose of having different states was the experiment, right? Economically, demographic, whatever you want to call it. And it's great if you look at like I lived in Australia for a while, and everybody thinks it's very similar, but it isn't. It's very top-down government. There's nothing you.
Well, we saw that during COVID.
Yeah, I lived in Melbourne, man. Melbourne is like, God bless them. It's a beautiful country. Don't get me wrong. The people are great, but the 10th Amendment is probably the best thing I've ever seen the founding fathers came up with. And one of the worst things you talked about, I always loved, and it's kind of Jefferson's attributed to it, but the government closest to the people serves the people best, right?
Yeah.
How many of us have seen federal government programs that just suck? Like they always suck because they have no regional.
Not the ones I was in.
Well, they have no regional,
Yeah.
But I mean, the military is a legitimate function of the federal government.
It's one of the only parts of the federal government that actually brings a return on investment.
Exactly. But how many, but the problem I see with like DOD is how many civilians are in there now.
Oh my God. Yes.
I mean, like they've inflated that to the point you can't even I don't even think, honestly, most of the DOD decisions are made by people that don't wear a uniform and never have,
Yeah.
And they're bureaucrats,
Yeah.
Think about major policy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, major. Yeah.
I mean,
they do have to.
It sucks, and they're a huge part of all the government programs. So I won't get too much into that, but like it does kill me when you see like local government. How many people can name their state senator?
Oh, I say this all the time. That you
state senator.
Whenever, not even that. When somebody wants to get into a political argument with me, I go, "Who's your district representative?"
Yeah, who is
that's
it?
What I go,
you know what?
And then tell me who your alderman is at the state level.
Yeah, and you know who killed that?
Tell me who that is. I will have an argument.
And I always bring up the 10th Amendment, the 17th Amendment. We screwed that up because Senate was supposed to be the state legislature telling the federal government what to do, and it was a check on it. Yeah, Obamacare would have never been passed if the 17th Amendment wasn't there.
It's the Affordable Care Act, Dan.
So
it's not affordable.
I'll stop there.
$436 billion in perpetuity.
So I'm just saying you wouldn't. If the state government had a voice in the federal government like it's supposed to, you wouldn't have it. But they bribed enough individuals that had a whole state in their pocket.
Yeah. The bottom line is liberty is the absence of coercion from the government. So you should be able to live your life as free as possible and not having the government dictate what you should or shouldn't be doing.
Right. So here I'm going to get back to Rob here. I want to get back to him, but I want to throw this in there when what he brought up about how much it's going to cost to indict Trump that won't get charged with anything.
Yeah.
Right. Like nothing will happen. We'll just spend $20 or $30 million. Right. We'll just spend that money.
It's a fucking circus, man.
It's just to waste time. Right. But again, here's where I think that how they confuse the American population. And I'm guilty of it as well, because I still kind of believe in it, that the money, that when we talk money nowadays, right, it's a digit in a computer.
Yep.
Okay. It doesn't really exist, right? Because we got off the gold standard. It's not even really paper anymore. It's in a computer.
You couldn't even print everything out. If everybody went to the bank today and said, I want all my money printed right now, they wouldn't even have that.
They have to go to their credit card company first.
But even still, the credit card company is going to use a computer. So here's something. Digital. Money, and you get this when you get into arguments about taxes, Rob. You get into this when people are like, when they say, hey, how come this isn't free? They don't understand what free means.
Yeah. Well, you can't get a dollar service for $1.
There is nothing for free in this country. Nothing.
How many big government people would have been elected? Here's I ask people this too. If you want to talk about government spending and make it personal, right? Take away the withdrawals out of your check that the government can do. How many people, if they had to file their taxes and pay by check of what they earned on, say, October 20th, would vote Democrat?
Yeah.
Right now.
Or how about this? Put the voting machine next to the gas pump.
Yeah. But I mean, just if you had to cut a check for a third of your income or 20% of your income,
good marketing idea.
2 weeks before
that won't work, because the people in major cities don't even have cars, right? So they're not. But
I'm saying, if you took your check, you had to cut 20% of your income and send it to the government, and then base your vote on that 2 weeks later.
No, you know what they should do? But they should actually have the family that you support from your check that's receiving welfare come to your house,
the 5 families,
and knock on your door, right? And like, hey man, where's my check? You got time for mustaches, but you don't have my money. Where's my money, Brian?
Dude, hey, Rob, starting this company, I learned more about government. The company I started, Buyer Barn, I learned more than I did my whole MBA trying to file with the business license and the IRS, the freaking state. I mean, you wonder why I don't think any small business owner in the country votes Democrat. And I'm not trying to be Democrat or, you know,
they will depending on where they are. It's just
they do if they have good lobbyists and they're a huge company, but small businesses don't. Yeah, so
there still are some Kennedy Democrats out there. There's still the ones that aren't far whacked
yellow dog,
there's
yellow dog Democrats.
They're still out there. And again,
I think the honest part is the people that are like that are not as vocal. You know, because if they're vocal, then they're going to get voted out because their party's going to turn against them.
Right.
Oh, and
let's go back to Rob here with what he's mad about. All right. Yeah. So let's get back to what Rob's mad about. And Rob,
I've known Rob for 30 years. Which part, Rob's mad? Oh, the one we're talking about.
Rob, no, yeah. Like, what's the fix?
Well, the fix is stop politicizing organizations that shouldn't be politicized. Like the Department of Justice should be ambivalent. Like you look at Lady Justice and the scales of justice, and it's blind. It shouldn't matter what party you're in, guilt or innocence, whatever. It should be, is there evidence here? No. We've chased evidence against Trump since he came down the escalator. At some point, if there's something that's out there, it's probably civil and not criminal. As we see, there's a lot of lawsuits against him and everything else. So let the courts handle that piece of it. But from a civilian perspective, or even from a military perspective, like we waste so much money on other frivolous things. Another investigation is not going to do anything. Or if you're going to do an investigation, let's do a simultaneous investigation on the Hunter Biden laptop and then Trump's involvement in January 6th.
Well, here's another one. Why doesn't
the reason Trump got impeached, when he got impeached that time was because of that whole Ukraine involvement, right? Because wasn't he the reason for it? He was in communication with the Ukrainian president about the laptop, and I guess you're not allowed to call or whatever, but that's the whole reason behind all that. To me personally, and this is where my conspiracy comes in, it's all a dog and pony show.
Yeah.
I think it's all staged to keep this massive divide between both parties, and then to keep us divided. Because if everybody came together and just believed in the same thing and had the same goal, then the establishment would get crushed. Like exactly. Clinton in her emails, nothing happened with her. Biden and his laptop, nothing happened with him. Trump, the impeachment, nothing happened. It's
all lions and wildebeest, man. That's the easiest way to show it, right? If I can carve away the wildebeest that's weak, then I can just pick him off at my leisure, because I'm not going to be able to attack a strong front of all.
Well, Rob, another one that I think might be a solution is the Brits have they have a lot less. You have a lot less lawsuits over there because whoever loses has to pay the legal fees. I wonder if you could do that against the government, because one of the problems you have is that
that's a good concept.
There's multiple places where when the federal government comes after you, I mean, they have like a 92% conviction rate or something crazy, upper 90s, something like that, because they have so many. All of us have broken a federal law probably in the 10 minutes we've been talking, because there's 42,000 and no one knows them all. Yeah. But what happens is there's unlimited funds. If it wasn't Trump, if it was one of us that they came after, we just plead guilty.
Done. Yeah,
we plead guilty. So why not have it against the government too? If they spend $200 million coming after, freaking Nick, Dave, Rob, me, why not? Hey, the equivalent we get to spend, and the lawyers will go after that if you make it a law. So I mean, the problem is there's nothing. The federal government has so much power against an individual that if you weren't Trump, you couldn't even defend this stuff. You just give up. So I think that's a solution too. It's all
smoke and mirrors, in my opinion. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Well, right. It's all about division. That's all it is they just want to keep us divided.
They're always. I don't care if you. I have to read the most liberal history book in the world. right? The most liberal one, and then read the most conservative one, which aren't many, but read, it's probably mostly if you read an autobiography, which is truth, it's probably considered conservative, right? So like read both of those. There has always been a slave force.
Yep.
All right. Always. All right. Whether they were forced or whether they were forced by by imprisonment or certain kind of laws, or they were forced by taxes and zoning. Right. Yep. Like, so I can get my labor force. Look at California. I love this. I was arguing with Monica, who's going to the UCLA USC game tonight. You suck. All right, but
they even play football out there.
Oh, they play that. That's too.
I'm an Oklahoma fan. I hate USC. Well, please don't mention them again.
Both of those teams are way better than Oklahoma right now.
They stole Oklahoma's offense. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But yeah, it's like that slave force has to be there. And you look at California, where you got a lot of Democrats moving out, right? Not because they disagree with California, but they can't afford all these beautiful things that they want there, right? Well, so they move out. But now hear me out. Who's going to stay there? All right, the elite will stay there because the elite, they have all the money, right? And then now you have all the people on government assistance. You still have your slave force there.
Yep.
Okay, those are the people that they need. All right, and like Dave says, you make that divide, and that divide just now makes other people, the smarter people, argue about dumb shit.
Yep.
Right? When smart people argue about dumb shit, then the people who are pulling the strings get to do whatever they want.
Yeah. And,
right.
And there's and it's the equal misery principle, right? I can't expect to have equal outcomes, right? Because if I can send I've sent hundreds of thousands of soldiers downrange, and everybody's experience is different. So if we can have mutual success, there's no equality of outcome. Equality of outcome is never going to happen. I can have equality of misery because I can take everything from you, and you can all have the same rations. You can all have the same power cycle. You can all have the same hard stuff against you, but you can't have the same positive stuff against you, because you can't legislate somebody's right away to be an asshole. You can't legislate somebody into success, because some people are going to be successful. Some people are just going to fail. That's the nature of the beast, and so understanding that, that's where, to me, that's why politics are so bad. Like, I get hit from both sides because I'm a registered independent. So I hear all the chatter from the left. I hear all the chatter from the right. And rarely, if ever, do I have a conversation with a politician from the left. Do they want to engage me on issues? Whereas if a Republican calls me, I can talk to them for an hour, because they really want to know what informed citizen looks like.
Well, Dave's getting yelled at by
the middle's dropped out. Like, if you
Megan's not here.
If you look at every
my dad
conflict,
was talking to me.
if you look at like every conflict from the Revolutionary War, a third of the people are on one side, a third on the other, right? And a third are in the middle, but they're just kind of losing their voice at this point, because there's a lot. Look,
they got us arguing about dumb shit.
Yeah, because they're like, look, I got to feed my kids. I got to, run a business. I got to do something. They don't care what we're saying. So it's weird. I remember the funniest story. I was working in D.C. with a government contract, right? And you listen to all the D.C. stuff. And I live 100 miles south in Richmond, south of Richmond, right, in Virginia. And I sit there, and everybody was talking about, remember when Gaddafi got killed?
Yeah.
And everybody in DC is, oh my God, should we have killed him? How do we do that? And all the news, everything. And I came down south. I thought the best thing in America is the bagger, when I went to the grocery store, said, shit, I thought we killed him 30 years ago. I was like, we got his family. I was like, God bless America. There's people out here that don't care. They don't care about it. My wife taught me something. I stopped watching news when I worked from home after COVID. I've been the happiest I've ever been, man. I'm still voting the same. I don't give a shit. I just don't care. Like, most of the stuff coming out of Washington is bullshit,
Well, all right, we can now start talking about Dan Robinson, because he obviously doesn't give a shit.
I don't care. I really don't.
Let's get this guy on the center stage. All right. So Dan Robinson is a West Point graduate, and we usually don't hold that against people except for today. All right, we are going to hold it against Dan today.
It's 50-50 in this conversation.
And so,
nice.
Rob has already gotten the brunt of the West Point, jokes and stuff like that. But seeing as an enlisted guy is beating 2 West Pointers in how to pick football games, like obviously not knowing how to analyze stuff, that's probably what we spent all of that money on, so that these officers could analyze things, and they can't even analyze a fucking football game. All right. But anyways, that's the other part is Dan, you have to answer this when you first start talking.
Yep.
All right. So you started a goat farming business. And this is what bothers me a little bit about this. We here at Veteran Trash Talk, again, our mission is to promote any veteran business out there, veteran author for free. We want to see you all succeed, whether you do the same shit we do or something different. We don't care. We want to promote you. However, before we can sign off on what Dan Robinson does at Briar Barn, is for about $100,000, about 150 to send you to West Point. After all that taxpayer money we were just talking about, you want to raise fucking goats. All right. So like that's what we paid for, is for you to raise goats with that $150,000 brain of yours. But anyways, Dan, welcome to the Trash Talk Hour. Tell us about raising goats. Tell us what you're doing, about your service, all that great stuff.
All right, man. Look, first of all, your numbers are way off as an analyst. Since the 90s, I've heard a $250,000.
I need to be 10% true. So I don't know. It's a lot of money.
And the saying we have, and I can curse here. I can curse here. I've already done it 3 times, but I've always heard it's $250,000, but it's shoved up your ass a nickel at a time. So we have a little bit. It's a little rough. I mean, you pay for it, right? Like, we didn't have a student loan, but we had to go deal with the Army in general.
Here we go. Yeah.
But
the struggle was real.
The struggle's real, man.
So we had to put our uniform on.
We had to put a uniform.
The normal kids are in college.
We had to talk to people.
Yeah.
That major pay and that colonel pay is so shitty. Yeah.
Shit, I didn't touch major, so I'm good.
Well, everybody makes captain.
Look, I got out as a captain.
That's why you're here. That's why you're here.
I look at Rob like, they promoted you to colonel. Good Lord. We just went to our reunion, and I'm like, holy crap, these guys are still like, these are the guys we hated. Because no, I mean, come on, it's a lot of us get out at 7 years and everybody goes, oh, that sucks. What are you doing? I'm like, the railroads in the US were all built by us that got out at 7 years,
They're built by Chinese.
Yeah, well, we use Chinese and Irish.
7 years?
Yeah, just south of 7 years. I got about 6 and 9
captain?
months. So.
Did you make it to captain? You made it to captain.
Everybody makes it to captain. You have to make it to captain.
Yeah, you got to be pretty bad not to make the captain. I know a guy who didn't make
the first lieutenant.
I ran into a guy, I'm not kidding, that didn't make it to first lieutenant. I was like, oh my God.
Oh.
Yeah. And after you talk to him for 5 minutes, you figure out why. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God. But anyway, but no, I mean, it happens. We get out, we go do stuff, and I learned a bunch of stuff that's still useful. I mean, they give you a great education. I can't complain about that. I've met great people. Some of my NCOs I still talk to. I love those guys. I mean, they taught me so much shit that I wouldn't have known, just how to deal with people.
What was your branch?
I was field artillery, man. So I got out. Okay. I went to the 101st after I got out, and I didn't like light too much, to be honest with you. And I went to Korea.
Were you airborne in 101st?
No, I was not airborne.
No, they were fake airborne.
I know.
Dude, we land.
That's why I asked that.
Yeah. We're actually operational. I'm like,
Dan, you brought us a leg. You brought us a leg.
Death from a bus for the 82nd for you guys.
That's what the Panther is, stealth and cunningness, right? And the arrow down is death from above. Okay,
death from above, baby.
Yeah, I heard death from a bus in the first Gulf War. My dad used to tell me, and he's airborne. But no, man, I'm not trying to insult you. I respect anything you did. I lived with my first house at the 101st was 2 infantry guys and 2 other field artillery guys. They all had airborne wings. I mean,
so you had to cook dinner every night.
I do it anyway. Look at me, man. I'm not skinny. Shit, I cook now. Like, I love cooking, man. That's my favorite shit in the world, besides booze. But no, I mean, it was fun. I grew up an Army brat anyway. I graduated high school in Bangladesh, so I was the freak. I don't know, Rob. I didn't know Rob as a plebe, but I was just happy there was fresh water and I could drink out of the sink, man. Like everybody thought I was a freak at West Point. Like, I'm like, that's great, man. There's food. You're not going to get giardia. Like, I don't have to take quinine pills. So I graduated in high school in Bangladesh. My dad was a foreign area officer. And, I started looking at farms. I mean, I've worked on farms everywhere, including over there watching auctions and stuff. And that's why I started Buyer Barn. So it's been fun, man. You want me to keep going? I don't want to.
Yeah. What is Buyer Barn?
What do you do? What do you do?
This is your show.
We're the first online farm animal auction. So I can't. The funniest thing is
there's a lot of people who like farming on this show. So that watch.
Oh, dude, there's a ton of farms. Like everybody's nostalgic about a farm until you have to come out and like pull a baby calf or baby goat out. Trust me, my aunt was here during that last one, and I just had 6 puppies born. I raised Marima sheepdogs too, but the first thing I learned was getting out in the world was just when I got out, I volunteered, man. I went to the local. The thing I can tell every veteran that's getting out, go volunteer somewhere, man. You'll learn stuff that you hadn't met. I volunteered with the Chamber of Commerce when I got here. They looked at me like, well, we've never had a volunteer. Like, what do we do? You know what I mean? But you get to meet people, you got to integrate, and so I volunteered with a co-op that does farm auctions. And if you can imagine a farm animal auction from the 1950s, it's probably about the same as most of them right now. So you go in, they pay by check or cash, that's it. And it's just guys running farm animals through. And I said, what the hell is wrong? So I tried to buy it because all the old guys, it was a nonprofit, were closing it down. So we tried to buy it, and I didn't like one of the guys that was there. He was a meat buyer. So what we did is I've been working in IT for 16, 17 years. I have an architect that was my partner. So we built a platform to sell farm animals completely online, man. So
no, wait. So there. Here's where you saw your gap, right? And then you had a way to do it, right? You had a way to fix it. So so you built a platform to sell goats,
cattle, all the farm animals. We're not doing exotics yet. We're going to move into llamas. We actually have an Air Force Academy grad that
llamas.
Dude, llamas, ostriches, they sell them all in the U.S., man. You been to Texas? Like, they sell everything down there. But
but do you eat them?
Greatest country in the world.
They use llamas mostly for their coat. It's softer than wool, so they'll use them for their coat. Kind of like sheep's wool, but it's a lot softer.
Yeah, you don't eat llama, Dave.
Yeah.
All right. Have you ever had a llama burger, Dave?
No.
I mean, even
but ostrich.
Yeah. I'm sure you could eat it, bro. I'm sure you could. Me too.
Ostrich eggs. Ooh, yeah.
Ostrich. I bought an ostrich egg one time. I told you I'm a cook, man. 22 chicken eggs in the ostrich. I tried to do the math. I'm like, why aren't they more popular? Well, you need a drill and a chisel to get through them, and they only lay 1 egg every month and a half. So the math doesn't work out. But no, we sell chickens. Chickens is probably our biggest seller, then goats. And I mean, since COVID, backyard chicken sales have gone through the roof.
Weird.
So people are just trying it out. So we started it, and it's been great.
Dan, let me rewind real quick for the viewers too, and maybe I missed this portion. So it's all done online. But do you have your actual own farm, right?
I have my own farm.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I started a farm in 2000. I've lived kind of agriculturally my whole time. Even when I was in my last post in Oklahoma, I lived across from a cattle ranch. So I go talk to the guy and figure out and I always loved to farm. And so in 2017, I bought a farm out here outside of Richmond, between Richmond and then Norfolk in Southeast Virginia. And man, I tell you, my grandfather used to have a saying. He was from Massachusetts. Said if the country had been settled from west to east, nobody would have gone to New England. It is hard as hell on the East Coast, man. I go to my brother-in-law's in Indiana. I'm like, dude, it's all cleared. It's all there's no trees. So, but I've been clearing this property and I'll be honest, agriculture for veterans, it's awesome, man. It's an outdoor experience, which you don't get in the civilian world. You're not sitting behind a computer. You are a little bit to sell your product, but then you go outside and it's varied, man. It's problem solving. You go out, you build a fence, you do. And the problem is there's none in America anymore. I mean, small farming is kind of dying in the country, to be quite honest with you.
Well, because it doesn't pay anything anymore with the regulations.
It doesn't pay, and it's just there's regulations everywhere, and the government funds so much of agriculture right now that but there's a lot of guys really successful in niche areas, right? Like llamas, for instance. The government hasn't got their,
the hooks in the llamas yet.
Well, and there's
so now let's go back on this. Yeah. So you have a farm, you wrote the software to sell animals on that platform.
Yeah.
Is there anything in Briar Barn that encourages veterans to come work on your farm, help with your farm? Like this is what I want to get to for our community. Like what does it do for the veteran?
I'm not looking for charity. I don't need guys to come out. They can come out if they want. I'm full. Email me.
But explain the benefit of that, of coming out and working on a farm and doing that stuff.
I use eBay versus a garage sale, right? Like if you want the best price for your, if you're gonna sell a garage sale and you got a vase from the Ming Dynasty or something, right? Are you going to sell that at a yard sale? What are you going to get? The 4 people around you, maybe the 100 people that show up. Whereas eBay, you're going to get the entire country. So what we do is most of the local farm auctions, you're only going to get the price that you can get out of 2 or 3 counties. Whereas if you have a specialty chicken, you have goats, you have something that you need. I'll give you an example. When I started, the reason I really started this, I needed Kiko goats because they're hardier. They're big. They're not quite as big as boar, but about the same size. I had to go on Facebook. Every social media platform blacklists you if you say you're buying or selling animals, period. That's it. That's all you have to do. I can't even announce what our company does on Facebook. I have to tell them to go to our platform and look. But I spent 5 weeks looking for Kiko goats. And I would just have to DM like every farm I found on Facebook or, and it took me forever, man. I was like, this is terrible. And I hate inefficient. I do that for my job, like realigning a lot of these IT networks. So I went in and I said, well, shit, we can just list it. And so what we did is it took me 5 weeks to find them. I went up with $600 in cash to buy 4. Now think about it. When's the last time you handle a $600 to $1,000 of cash you weren't deployed? You like paying some haji somewhere, but you know what I mean? Like it's unsecured.
Well, I'm kind of baller. I usually have that on me all the time. So,
well, the strip clubs know that too, right? So in ones,
especially in Fort Polk, but,
in ones, right? Yeah. But I mean, you're going up there and doing that. So we built a platform where you don't have to carry cash. It's secure payment. You go up. If the animal's not healthy, it's canceled, right? You don't pay anything. So we've really worked on that and we built it up. And we're trying to work with veteran charities. Right now, we're offering veterans free listings to get the listings on because we kind of just launched in about 2 months ago. So we're giving veterans free listings, at least the first 5 that they list. And it's at Briar Barn. So it's BYRE. It's the old cow barn. So not Briar, sorry, but Briar Barn, .com, or, we also forward from BUYER if you want to spell it that way. And anybody wants to sell, you got to go through a little process to sell it because we got to verify that you're legit, farm. And then, but it takes 10 minutes and anybody who wants any, just write me at dan@BriarBarn.com or look up BriarBarn.com/VTT.
Dan, I got to stop because I got lost.
Yeah.
Right. We got to refocus this back to the grunts here listening. So you're saying that
I'm lost already.
I know. But anyways, Candace came out there and said drinks on Nick. Well, Candace, I tried to buy you guys drinks one time, but your husband has an inferiority complex, right? So he had to buy. All right, I'm not gonna say who that is.
Sorry, Candace.
Yeah, but
yeah,
I tried to buy. You didn't let me.
We just went out to dinner the other night, and same thing. Like,
I wasn't gonna give you more details to know who we're talking about, but
that's all I'm gonna leave it at.
Yeah. But hey,
we love you, bro.
Yeah, getting back. This 2 shows in a row. Paul's got roasted on. Anyways, so hey, let's go back. So let's just say I want to just do some things and raise some chickens, raise some goats, just because it's a hobby. I'm a veteran. I got I want to get off the grid a little bit. but it's almost impossible for me to sell what I want to sell.
Yeah.
I go to Briar Barn.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So
you can sell that shit online.
So yeah, those of you guys that are watching that understand what we're talking about, because I don't. I'm a city boy. I got no shit. I had no idea. Like I don't want a llama.
It's an entire network.
Although I would get a. Could you sell penguins? I want a penguin. Right, like I would.
Yeah, we're not getting into penguins anytime soon, man. We're not doing anything.
Have you looked into penguins, though, Dan?
Yeah.
Have you looked?
No, we did.
He doesn't know llamas, but he's integrated into the penguin community.
But penguins are actually legal to sell in the United States. I found that out. It's bullshit. So, but either way, so a veteran
selling monkeys and shit. That'd be awesome.
No. So you're
no monkeys, no penguins.
So you're
lions and tigers and bears. No,
you're encouraging veterans to. If
reach out to us,
reach out to you, but also like for the PTSD aspect, which if you're struggling now, remember I'm going to say it as a disclaimer: PTSD, the term itself is not real. All right, everything around it is. All right, everything underneath it is. So if you're struggling to find a way, right? If you're struggling to find a purpose in life, all right, maybe raise a few freaking chickens, man. Like get off the grid and do something, and then you can sell them.
Well, and if anybody's having issues like that, right? I know you guys do a lot with the service stuff. There are a ton of veteran-run farms that do that, and I'm going to put that up with our stuff. I know in North Carolina there's one. It's called the Veterans Farm in North Carolina, and we're trying to partner with a bunch of these guys for free listings with anybody that goes through them. Right? There's the Save Farm, not Save the Farm, the SaveFarm.org, Save SAVE, and they run educational programs outside of Fort Riley, and they're great, man. They have the U.S. Department of Education certifications, everything. So there's a lot of those, and I'll put up some of those resources on our site. And like I said, buyerbarn.com/VTT for Veteran Trash Talk, and we'll put that stuff up. But it's therapeutic, man. I'm telling you. I started raising Maremma sheepdogs. I have like 6 puppies downstairs. I'm tired as hell. I took a nap for this thing. What's up. And I'm telling you, the damn puppies, I could watch them all day, man. You're like, holy crap. Like, and they ain't people. They're not going to talk back to you, but they give you the eye and you're like, shit, she's got to go outside. The puppies are hungry, but I mean, and like I said, there's a guy that I found a quote right before it came on, a guy named Colonel John Fant, who runs the Virginia kind of veteran farming coalition that the USDA put together. And he said, it's an outdoor event. It's disciplined. It's mission focused. It's physically demanding. It's problem solving and future planning. And I'll be honest, that's perfect, because he said it's great for veterans. If you're having PTSD issues, write me, man. I'll find somebody that can bring you on a farm. And because think about it, like the problem I see, like, and I don't have PTSD. I never really deployed much. I mean, I kind of, I went to Australia for my grad school.
Remember, you have issues of PTSD. Like you don't label yourself like the government does to give you money.
No.
Yeah.
I got 3 daughters that are teenagers now. So, and a wife, and
I feel you.
Son. So I got PTSD, but let's not use that term. Right? But I'm just saying, like, the one thing I liked at the military, you'd go and do like all the OERs and NCOERs you had to do. I don't know if the term's still the same. I've been out for a while, but you'd also get to go down to the motor pool and talk to somebody and work with your hands and sit outside. So, I mean, the farm I've had, my wife thinks I'm crazy, and she was in the military, but she thinks I'm crazy going outside. But man, I got to fix a fence. I got to figure out why this goat's getting loose. I got to go figure out how to put cattle on it. So it's a fun problem solving. And veterans actually, I looked up a bunch of veteran stats before we came on. Like they're about 10 years older than the average farmer, a decade. They're like 67 on average. And more than half of them, their primary occupation is farming. So which is unusual, about a third primary.
That's a pretty interesting stat right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's something to do if you think there's an issue and you just want to get out and work on a farm. There's plenty of look at the labor problems right now. It's 10 times more in farming. I'm not I still want to collect an I-9, so I'm not going to hire a bunch of guys I don't know that are, so I do a small farm. But if you want to come out and help, shit, I'll help. I'll have you come out.
No, but here's a good point on the thread too from John Connor, right, from Terminator. He says that I am of the kind that everyone has experienced a traumatizing event in life. How it affects them varies, however. And I love that statement.
Yeah.
And here's one of the things. I don't think farming will help me. Okay, because I don't want to farm. Okay. However, I do like to problem.
And the goats are scared, man.
Right. I do like they should be because
they're like the devil's animal, man.
Right, they are. You gotta take it by the horns, right?
But anyway, what do you say?
But I do like to problem solve. I do like to keep myself active. So again, whatever is traumatizing you out there, Trash Talk community, Gruntworks community, whatever is traumatizing you, you're allowing it to do it. Okay, you can take it over, right? You can find a mission in life because you had a mission in the military. And it's always puzzling to me when people trash the military, but then throw that veteran card out as fast as they possibly can. It's like that veteran community gave you structure, gave you a mission. All right. And then
just find your purpose, man. Just find your purpose.
And then like JC Glick, I brought him up earlier, is earlier in the fight show, is find your tribe, he says. Find your tribe. Right? Like who cares? Dude, right? Find it.
I'm telling you, like I said, I don't have a lot of trauma from the military. I enjoyed it, but I tell you, the best thing I do is go out and use the tractor, man. I mean, it's like therapy, and it's like driving the M88, which my NCOs never let me. Stinking NCOs. They let me the last day to drive the M88. That was awesome. But I'm just saying,
that's when I got fired.
That's when I left the military. A couple of Korean villages aren't the same, but hey, but I'm just saying, like, it's I mean, you get some of this equipment, man, is awesome. Like, I've been buying equipment, which the wife hates too, but I mean, you're like, holy crap, you can actually own this stuff. So and it's fun. I get guys that want to just come out and help me build a fence because they can use the auger. So I mean, I'm not saying it's a perfect solution for everybody. There's a lot of guys that it won't be.
No, I like how you said that, and that's what I was kind of getting to, was that people who think in the linear English language to where this will fix that. Okay. Farming won't fix a lot of people watching this show, but it might fix one or two of you. All right. And it's a giant system. All right. There's lots of things out there. There's lots of veteran causes out there. There's people that have devoted their lives to this stuff, and it's like,
hey, just another tool for your kit bag, man.
Exactly. Just like go give it.
Like we always say out of the community, like especially VTT official, when our brothers and sisters, will post at like 2 or 3 in the morning and they're going through some shit, and then the whole community just springs into action, and like coping mechanisms and ways to deal with your stressors. Like, I have learned so much from our community, because our community is really what makes Veteran Trash Talk and VTT official. I have learned so much, like, oh shit. Because I deal with like nightmares and stuff and, sleep issues. And I'm like, oh, that's what he does. Yeah. That's from Nick.
Well,
for sure.
Well, I go back to the discipline part too. If you got to get up at 5 a.m. like you do in the military, and you got to go work all day physically, a lot of times some of that stuff fades away, man, because you're working. It's something, and most people don't. And think about this: how many people are veterans in the U.S.? What, like less than 5%?
Less than that.
It's the same number of people that work in agriculture. You know what I mean? It's stuff we've lost over years that I don't know. It makes me happy. I go out there, I work. It's kind of interesting. If you want to come out and look at my farm, I'm happy to have you out, man.
Hey, Dan, Mickey on the chat. Mickey Severus is an author. He's coming out with some stuff. He's a wild card. We love having him on the platform and on the show. But he says, would there be an option to do vehicle maintenance and repair?
Yes, there's a lot of options. I've got plenty out there. And that's the other thing. We're trying to look at other options for Buyer Barn to bring the veteran community together. And it's hard to start like social platforms are tough right now, right? Like there's millions.
Not really. We're having pretty successful.
But I want to, I'm talking about managing it, right? from a buyer barn standpoint, we'd like to build a community where, hey, I need a diesel repair guy to come out, because diesel is huge and that's one of the biggest stressors right now is the price of diesel. I mean, you guys go and fill your car up with unleaded, but look at the diesel price every time you go by. And I've got to fill my tractor with that every week. Yeah. It's like shit. So yeah, we're trying to do that. We're trying to look into other areas around that piece, like, the farming equipment and that kind of stuff to help. The other thing is there are programs of the VA, like, I'll give you an example. In Texas, you can buy farmland as a veteran through a Texas. You know how the VA loan works for houses? I think all of you know. They have one in Texas to buy property, because you can't just buy unimproved property with a VA loan. And so certain states have that. Every state has some different stuff around there, and the USDA has other stuff. So yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're vehicle maintenance, man, if you're a welder, I learned how to weld after getting a farm. If you're a welder, I mean, all the blue collar stuff really works on a farm, because I'd pay a welder right now to come out and help me with a grill, because I have a welder and I'm terrible at it. My welds look like, fucking bead about this big in the line. It's terrible. But yeah, there's a lot of work on farms that people could use.
And here's something else that when I explain to civilian friends that are trying to find their way in the concrete jungles and stuff like that, I was like, you do know that there are people that would be completely content and happy with sleeping under a poncho and doing something that meant something.
Yeah.
So obviously in 2022, we could probably offer them more than a poncho, right?
Yeah.
But it's like there are people that just wanted to work.
Yeah.
That's what they want to do. Right. Well, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Like,
there's nothing wrong with it. And my wife's been thinking about doing something for kids or something else with that, because she's a teacher, and God bless her, because I can't stand middle schoolers, but she wants to do something with that. And the problem is there's people that want to working with your hands gives you something at the end of the day. And it's something you probably recognize from the Army. If you go down and fix a Humvee, and I was artillery, so it was a lot more equipment based, right? But you got to sit out. If a gun's down, you go down and sit out with your mechanics till 2 a.m. buying pizza, man. And I did that for as a butter bar. I did that for 2 weeks straight. My NCO comes up and goes, "Sir, they're telling us it's deadline at 5 p.m. so you'll buy them pizza." God damn it! Son of a bitch! But
the E4 Mafia got you.
Stop buying them pizza, sir.
Yeah, the first thing should have caught your attention is when all the E4s were volunteering for the detail. Hey, no,
they were all there. And this is Korea. They had nothing better to do. So it's like, shit. He goes, "Sir, you got to stop buying a pizza." I was like, and my smoke, I'm 6'2", and I'm a big guy. I play tight end, I couldn't make the lightweight squad.
Did you play for West Point?
I played lightweight with Rob. And then my sophomore year, I couldn't cut the 40 pounds a week anymore. So
what year were you there? What year did you go to West Point?
We were both graduated in 97. So 93, 97. So
okay. Yeah. Did you know Rooney?
Nah, did you know him, Ron?
No.
I get this. No.
He was a fullback on the big boy team.
Oh no.
Rooney.
No. We were sprint.
He's
guys.
a field artillery guy.
Yeah.
Oh, all of them. Look, every football player and hockey player was. You know what? I was 700 in the class out of 900, and I was still a genius in the.
Brandon Rooney.
Brandon Rooney. Yeah, I will tell you, if he was field artillery, that's not surprising, because majority.
That's all of us.
Yeah, majority of the football players out of West Point, they used to say you can't spell fat without FA, because that's where all the offensive linemen went.
I'm triggered, man. I'm triggered.
Yeah, that's where the offensive linemen went.
The camera adds 10 to 30 pounds.
45.
But they also, but they full up did an investigation at West Point because they had so many football players going field artillery. They're like, "Hey, what's going on with that?" And it's basically the dudes were on a team together. They were brothers, and they were like, "Well, if I'm going to end up going to war with somebody, I might as well go with somebody that I know."
First, you bring up a second prosecutor, and then you bring up investigations. Come on, man.
Yeah. Now you want to investigate.
Now you want to investigate the football team? No. Anyway, yeah, he's probably right. Like we had, and it helped me, Rob, because I was in the bottom half of the class, but I was in the top quarter of the FA guys because all the hockey team went, all the football team. Well,
say that again. That you were in the bottom half of the class, but you were about top of the FA world. So, Bill, are you watching? Are you listening? All right, all your officers are bottom of the class, but the top of their class.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with the infantry. The bell curve does not. The bell curve.
Oh, the bell curve. The big old bell curve. All right, perfect. Move.
Back me up on this. There's no bell curve for infantry guys because the top 10% of the class went infantry, and then everybody else that couldn't make any.
Say that slow. Hey, Dan, say that slow for the audience.
Hey,
the best officers go where?
Well, 10% of the best officers go infantry, and 90% are scattered everywhere else.
Yeah, right.
Because the Fort Drum guys,
the largest portion go.
I'm going to say you got 10th Mountain behind you. The 10th Mountain guys that were infantry. The Vicenza guy that went infantry is probably a fucking Harvard grad.
If you're talking to West Pointers, the real trick is to find out what their first post was, right? So if their first post was like Fort Bragg, 101st, Italy, like if you talk about their first assignment, that usually tells you where they were academically in the class. So like if you meet a dude that was in Vicenza, that guy's like the bee's knees.
He's going to be a medical officer at some point.
That guy's pinning on a star somewhere.
If he's Fort Drum of any branch,
and the only other one that you got to be cautious of, like if you meet the infantry guy that went to Black Horse. Like,
like, no, I will give West Point some credit here.
Hey, I'll give Chris a shout out because he went Black Horse and he was fourth from the bottom.
Chris who?
Yeah, okay, Chris Kennedy. He won't care.
Chris Kennedy. Let's take his ass.
But he tried to make goat, but didn't make it.
So no, I'll give a shout out. When I was a first sergeant in Hawaii, I got this XO under this young lieutenant that was supposedly like the smartest guy ever from West Point in the engineering program. Like his name's etched on the fucking wall and shit, right? So like he made a mistake. All right, the young first lieutenant.
What? We don't do that. There's no mistakes.
I'm just saying. So I knock on the door, and I said, "Hey, sir, can I show you where you're fucked up here?" And he's like, "Yes, please, first sergeant." And I was like, "So here, and here." And so he's like, "Oh, damn it!" And he realized what he did wrong right away, And I was like, I was like, "Hey, just it's not a big deal. I already squared it away with battalion. We're fine." And then he's like, "Oh shit!" And I go, "Hey, weren't you like top of your class at West Point?" And he was like, "I was," And I was like, "What degree?" He's like, "Engineering." I'm like, is that even a good school for engineering? And he looks up at me and he goes, "Why don't you look it up?"
Oh,
and I look it up, and it's like fourth in the world.
Dude, every railroad,
he had the highest GPA ever in the engineering program.
And you know what's kind of funny? Everybody talks about how West Pointers. I think West Pointers give back to society, and I'm not trying to defend this, but
no,
I'm not high on the GPA list. But I will say I love history and biographies. And if you look at West Pointers West Point was the first engineering college in America, and that's why and you look at the Civil War afterwards. I think almost every railroad was built by a West Pointer. Because there was no engineers anywhere. Like Harvard was for doctors, and so it's a weird. I love that they still make them do engineering minors, at least, Rob. I don't know what your major was, but it's still something they have to.
I think the scary part is now they're like top 5 in engineering, and then they're top 5 in liberal arts, and that's scary.
Well, farm is the definition of liberal arts,
as
right?
it should be, though. And I've always this is a whole other show, so we'll have to cut it short here. But let's get on the fifth principle and talk about this. I think this would be a good fifth principle podcast show. We'll bring Buddy back on. We'll talk about just how important the service academies are, not only to the United States, like government, and to the military, but to the world,
Well, right? Society in general, right?
Yeah,
because the problem is you get like I got out after 6.
See, this is what happens when you leave an open-ended statement to a West.
No,
player.
but I get out after 6.5 years.
Trying to close it out, Dan.
Hey,
right, but
I got out after 6.5 years. Everyone makes fun of you, but they give something to society that I think helps, and that's all. I'll leave it. I didn't retire. I didn't do anything,
and now you're bringing.
I will say the one thing I will say that I've seen a lot with the war in Ukraine and stuff, and talking about foreign militaries.
You mean the war in Poland? You mean the war in Poland that Ukraine invaded?
The best thing that's happened in the U.S. military is the development of the NCO Corps, and I wholeheartedly think that. Now, I'm not trying to pander to the audience, but like if you look at foreign militaries growing up overseas, they don't have an NCO Corps. They've got officers that beat people and keep them. Look at the Russians; they can't even go into Ukraine. So
I mean, they've been there since 2012.
They try, but they're going to be there for longer than Vietnam.
Don't worry, Dave. I'll close out for you. So, this is we could bring you on for the 5th principle, and
I'd love it, man.
Well, but we'll definitely have Dan on for this conversation with West Pointers, and any service academy. But a little AAR, real quick, for those of you watching. All right, we covered some government spending issues. All right, we covered. Let's get this investigation. It's not shocking that those of you cheering for an investigation on, the former President Trump that will cost $20 to $30 million don't care, because you don't have any money. You probably have zero money. You probably are living paycheck to paycheck, which I'm not making fun of you, but you don't stop wasting money. All right. We don't need to spend it there. All right. That was one of the things that happened on the show today. We also covered a conspiracy where aliens definitely landed in Zimbabwe, and they told them to stop
the technology.
Stop using technology. And before the baker gets all upset, they spoke to them telepathically, not in English. All right, motherfucker.
All right, telepathically, speaking a language.
Right. So it's like,
learn the language.
Show the fuck out. All right. And then we had Dan Robinson.
Also learn English over there. They also learn English over there.
And then we had Dan Robinson on, who started Briar Barn, and you can look on the
Briar.
That's what I said.
Briar. You said Briar.
You said Briar.
Isn't that Take Me Down to the Briar Barn? That's
Take You Down to the Briar Patch.
Yeah, the Briar Patch. Isn't that Disneyland, Disney World? So so the Briar Barn, okay, you go down to the buyerbarn.com. It's on the link to on the event. Go there. If you have any interest in starting your own little small farm and then making a little bit extra cash, that's your answer right there. All right, you can do that. So if you're looking for a purpose, looking for a goal to do something just in your off time, because guess what, veterans?
In your backyard, you raise chickens.
Make sure you're zoned properly, though. I
don't think you can have chicken. Well,
no roosters. State and city, no roosters. You can have chickens.
Pay attention to that. But as a recently retired guy, like, you got to keep yourself active. You got to keep your brain working. You got to keep yourself doing something. And if you're just sitting there wondering why the world sucks, I know this hurts to hear it, but it's because it's you. All right. The world sucks because you're making it suck. All right. Make it awesome. And there's plenty of people here at Veteran Trash Talk that will help you. All right. We're not going to do it for you, but we will help you. We will point you in the right direction. Get your ass moving. Okay. And that's exactly what NCOs do. All right. We'll get your ass fucking moving and get the job done. All right, so that's what happened today on Veteran Trash Talk. Now, we got to get out the air pretty soon. Why? Because Throat Punch Monday, okay? Monday morning Throat Punch Advocate.
Coming back.
They are coming back for season 3, and they are covering a special on the I Am Vanessa Guillen. And just like I said in the fight show earlier, if you're a guy that doesn't want women in combat arms, that's fine. We can all make an argument for that, right? Like, we can make an argument for it and against it. If you're a guy that wants to just make sexist ass remarks to people on our page, remember, Veteran Trash Talk speaks for everybody.
Damn it.
Had some shit go down the other day in the group.
I know.
That guy can fuck off. I'm not going to name any names, but
not just you. So if you're going to come on a chat thread and talk about maybe pick a different thread to do that on. All right, don't do one on somebody, a service member who was chopped up into pieces. All right, probably not the right place to do it. All right, we stand up for
failure from top to bottom in that unit. Yeah,
yep.
We could talk about that one for hours.
We stand up for everybody, and we're also the first ones to call your ass out. All right, so
unless you're a piece of shit, we're not standing up for your ass.
Yeah, we will call your ass out. It's that simple. But again, Throw Punch Mondays back. Season 3, episode 1 is today at 1700 Eastern time, which is in about 40 minutes. All right, so check that out. You're going to have some veterans who are MST survivors that are going to talk about the Vanessa Guillen experience, and we'll or the special, whatever it's called, and then we're gonna make sure that people watch that and not watch us. So Dave, close us out. No, it's 1900 Eastern. Man, 1900 Eastern. Sorry. God spoke to us. You guys can't hear it, but God's like, you said the time wrong. I've been drinking, Chris. Yeah. All right. So, all right. Dave, close us out.
Good. Yeah. Hey, Dan, I'm going to give you a final word. Rob, thanks for coming on. Some insightful knowledge there, as always. Maybe do a little plug for you. Still doing your podcast, right? I've listened to several of your episodes, but I haven't recently. So if you want to put a plug out there.
From the front line, yeah.
Yeah, so I do philosophy from the front line. And hey, anybody at the Veteran Trash Talk Nation want to share your transition story? Let me know. I mean, these guys know how to find me. And I asked 5 questions, about your transition. And it's just a resource for those that need to have a community. And if you're afraid to come up on the net and actually have a conversation with somebody, I've got 60 episodes that you can listen to and kind of figure out some tools of the trade. And I do book reviews. I do all kinds of stuff to kind of keep everybody kind of focused in on their transition, because nobody's going to take care of you in transition other than you, right? Just like in the Army, if you want to have a good career, you've got to take care of yourself, because sadly, when left to make decisions for their own best interest, people will make decisions for their own best interest and have you fall to the wayside. And for those of you guys that don't know, Trigger Joe is on the Ask for Football College Football Roundtable every week. And he's
killing you guys.
Yeah, he's been crushing us, but he gives some great betting advice as far as college football is concerned. And it's a really good show, and we're damn proud of it. And we're damn proud to have Joe on the show with us. But I'll pass it back over to you guys, and I will pause there.
Thanks, Rob. Dan, final words.
Hey, man, we're dedicated to helping small veteran farmers in America. So if you want to come, you need anything, you want to help us revolutionize farm animal auctions, go to Buyer Barn, BYREBARN.com/VTT for Veteran Trash Talk. And if you just,
I will see you later, and I'll give you that link, because she wants to buy a goat for her husband. So we're gonna make sure that
I've
happens.
got some goats on the farm.
All.
And then, or write us at info@buyerbarn.com. Thanks, guys. I love being here.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for coming on. We'll catch you next Saturday. Love y'all. Thanks, man. VTT out.
Cheers.